Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines. What's up, my dudes? There we go, baby.
MX versus ATV Reflex 3. Well, how the hell are we going to have that when we don't even have an MX versus ATV Reflex 2? Let me explain myself here. So basically, the whole point of this video is, and this is such an interesting little thing to talk about. It gets me so hyped up just because of how good the original Reflex actually was, especially on 360, right? But it just always gets me so hyped up because I think about, like, what if they had never went off of the Reflex path? You know what I'm saying? What if they had kept down that road, right? And we had gotten that full-blown Reflex 2 game like we all wanted. Going to take me a minute to remember some of these quad ski lines. Give me just a second. I know this one, you got to rail this outside like perfectamundo, and you can jump plumb out to Texas. Let's get in a standard view here. Okay. But, water. There we go. So, yeah, basically, you know, like MX Simulator, definitely not MX Simulator Reflex. There you go, Spence. Oh, man. Reflex, right? Oh, that's a hook to there. All right. Dude, I got to, like, remember the whole Reflex leaning back aspect. It makes such a massive difference on the 360, right? But basically, you know, that thought process just always hits my mind of thinking, like, had they have never went to a live, or had they have never went like a live MX vs. ATV Supercross down that whole vibe, right? Had they never even went there, just went from the first Reflex to Reflex 2 and then on to Reflex 3 after that, could you fucking imagine how good of a game that would be? Like, literally, though. Some of you boys need to think about that, because that would be just demortally legendary in every way that you could possibly imagine. Like, for real. Now we're hitting the big-ass lines, baby. See, like, where are these lines at in the newer motocross games? I ain't never seen a goddamn line like that in any milestone game, period, ever. With that sort of, like, difficulty and skill gap to the line and stuff like that. And there's literally like 4 or 5 of those on one track. There's 4 or 5 of those on this track where you really got to get the speed out of the corner. You really have to huck. You actually have like a lean forward, lean back huck that actually matters in the game. Oh, wow. I know some of you milestone fanboys don't even know what the fuck that is, because none of the games even have that. And there's like literally like no fucking in-air physics on any of those milestone games, which is such a massive aspect to Supercross. The first Supercross game had hardly any of a pop-off system whatsoever. Thank God they worked on that with Supercross 2, but like, you got to come in here and play Reflex on the 360. I swear to God, it's magical, dude. It's absolutely magical. And it's like some people just don't, I think they just really don't know. They don't remember, and or they've never actually played it on the 360. They've just hopped in there on the, you know, the PC version of Reflex and played it for like 5 seconds on a custom track, and they're not even getting the full vibe of the game. You know what I'm saying? I got to jump all the way to that table. All right. Like, you know, they're not even getting the full effect, right? And I swear to God, the 360 version of Reflex is the true version of Reflex, in my opinion. I don't know what they did with the PC version, but the reason why everybody plays the PC version is because of all the custom tracks. It's not like the PC version is like the premiered preferred, you know, physics system and like controller input system and filling of the bike and all that. That's not why everybody plays on PC on Reflex. It's literally 100% because of the custom tracks and the track editor. If it wasn't for that, I swear to God, everybody would still play on the 360 just because of how much better it feels. And I think a lot of you guys have just kind of forgotten how good it actually felt on the 360, but that's, oh my God, dude, like just imagining a game like this, but like a, you know, like third version of it. Whoo, doggies. Whoo, doggies. Whoo, buddy. Shoo, buddy. God dang. And as long as it just had the pillars, right? Like, let's go to the actual where you like pick what you're riding. Just the pillars. This is all I ask in a motocross game right here, literally. Free ride tracks. At least 3 solid different biome free ride tracks. That's all I ask in the base version of a motocross game. That is literally all I ask, dog. That's it. And then you got your national tracks, your supercross tracks, your whatever little weird vibed either omnicross or trail racing or waypoint or whatever. You need another little something that you kind of have there. And then obviously you have your freestyle in a motocross game, right? That just adds a whole nother layer and level to the game. You got your, obviously with the MX vs. ATV games, you got the champion sport truck and then waypoint at the very end. So having this many different core pillars of gameplay, core pillars of actually things that you can do in the game, and certain types of track designs and the whole nine, there's literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different pillars of racing in one individual motocross game. Whereas the milestone games, literally, like for instance, the first official Monster Energy Supercross game, literally before they gave you a paid DLC free ride track, there was no free ride at all. So cancel that shit completely out. No free ride. Cancel the Nationals completely out. There was no Nationals in the first official Monster Energy Supercross game that all you guys jizzed in your pants about and hated me for being cautious and being like, calm your titties down on your hype train before it came out. All you guys that hated on me for that, right? There was no Nationals before the paid DLC that came out later. There was no free ride, no Nationals. You had Supercross, but that was it. There was no Omnicross, no freestyle, no cool ass champion truck, no waypoint, no like trail series. There was none of that. There was literally one fucking pillar. One. I swear to God, the first official Monster Energy Supercross game had one of the lowest amounts of content I had ever seen in any motocross Supercross game ever. For a $60 price range? Are you fucking kidding me? You dudes literally got hyped up and paid for a title and graphics. That's it. That's all you paid for in the first official Monster Energy Supercross game. A title and graphics and official shit. That's it. I mean, good God. And that reminds me a lot of MX versus ATV Supercross. It's like, how do you go from this? How do you go from this? First of all, how do you go from all of this to a live, which didn't have any Supercross tracks at the very beginning and never really did get any true real Supercross tracks? Kind of had that little indoor like arena cross vibe DLC and had the James Stewart Supercross tracks on it, but that was nothing compared to the full-blown Supercross series, full-blown National series, full-blown Freeride series, full-blown Freestyle series, full-blown Omnicross, the whole nine. That's twice as much content in Reflex as there was in a live. Literally twice as much. And if you want to talk about the PC version of Reflex, there's 10,000 times the content, right? Like, you motocross game companies need to come back and look at the GOAT, okay? You need to come back and realize what the fuck is going on. What made this so good? This is one of the biggest aspects right here. The content, the pillars, free ride, national series, supercross series, random ass, whatever, trail, omnicross, whatever, freestyle series, freestyle tricks, free riding, big jump, and they cross over, right? You can do your freestyle tricks and shit and backflips and all that on your free ride track. So everything crosses over, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, God dang, dog. But when we're specifically talking about Reflex 3, right? That's kind of the whole point of this video. Of course, I had to get off on a little Spencer Turkey tangent there, as always. Basically, like, if they had just kept that core physics system of the 360 version of Reflex, right? Just kept that core to it, you know what I'm saying? Never really strayed too far from that original physics system. Kept the tuning somewhat similar, but just amped up the graphics. Amped up, like, obviously the way the tracks look and all that, made a slightly better terrain deformation system for Reflex 2 and then on to Reflex 3, and had all of the official, could you imagine like a Reflex 3 with all of the official bikes, real life, Yamaha, Kawasaki bikes and everything, the real gear, Red Bull helmets, Monster Energy helmets, the whole 9 yards. I missed that triple N. All right. Forget, Reflex actually has a skill gap to the fucking Supercross tracks. You actually have to like hit shit wide and land wide open to even be able to clear stuff instead of just riding around like a blind-ass zombie like you do in those milestone games where you're literally just like, you hit everything without even trying on the first lap. It's like, Jesus Christ, where did all the skill gap go? And one of the biggest problems with the milestone games is, like I said to begin with, is there's no leaning, there's no hucking, there's no real skill to the leaning, the whole in-air actually skilled like downside on the jumps and really landing stuff right and having more of a skill gap to the whoops. The whoops are nothing in the milestone games. There's barely any like really solid like whip system to the milestone games that really affects your trajectory in the air. It doesn't really do too much of any of that. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, God, could you imagine though, like all new full-blown, like if the original track makers of Reflex somehow could come back and make like, you know, newer national tracks, newer supercross tracks like they did back in the day with the cool, like some of the tracks being slightly more bigger jump fantasy style and some of them being more one-to-one scale, right? Having some of the cool national tracks like they had back in these days slid a little bit right there. You know, it's just like, God, could you imagine that game, dude? Could you imagine? I don't even know if we can ever actually technically have a Reflex 2 or 3 or whatever, because they may run into some like titling licensing issues or whatnot. I don't know if we can ever even have that actually again, but I'm pretty sure they can try to make a game as similar as Reflex as they possibly can, but I don't know if we'll ever actually get that Reflex 2 or 3 title, you know. But God, like, could you imagine had they went down that road? I mean, could you have imagined? And I guess it never really could have actually happened, though, because of all of the company crap that went on, you know, them going to, I guess, Nordic, right? Losing all the original type company. I don't know. They went through a lot of horse shit like that behind the scenes, and their games went to shit. And they're just now bringing it back around with All Out. We've literally been in like a decade-long fucking hiatus with these MX versus ATV games. They've been down the absolute shitter hole and a half, bro. Like, and finally, they're just now getting it back where we can breathe again. You know, it's like, damn, what if they just would have never lost their touch? What if they would have just kept it going through Reflex, like, and then it even advanced that to the next level, and then advanced the Reflex 2 to the next level, to the next game. Holy God, could you imagine that motocross supercross game? Like, good Lord. That would be so legendary. I can't even imagine. They would literally have like probably a Reflex 3 would be something like a, you know, probably more like a sim arcade sort of hybrid game. It really would be. And some people consider the first Reflex like a sim arcade hybrid. I don't consider it that at all. I just consider it a good ass arcade motocross game, right? I don't consider it like a fucking hybrid just because it's 10 times as much more realistic as what we're getting nowadays with the milestone games. That doesn't make the original Reflex like a simulator hybrid or some shit. It just means the milestone games are nowhere near where they need to be as far as the realism physics wise and all that. But damn, you know, if they would have just kept advancing that, whoo, it's just like, that would have been just so legendary, dog. There's that line right there. Always takes me a minute to get my reflex flow back, you know. Man, I spent some time on this game on the 360 back in the day, dogs. Woo-wee. And it was fun, too. Like, you can just put so many countless amounts of hours into reflex on 360 versus, like, one of those milestone games that last 3 months, you know, just because of the more skill gap and the more fun factor and the whip filling and the scrub filling and all that, and the really feeling like you can improve at the game every time you play the game, and that momentum, perfect ass momentum swing that Reflex on 360 had to it, where it was like you could really start carrying some insane ass speed just from your skill, right? Just from being more focused on the track and really figuring out the best lines and stuff. That's how it's your true skill that makes you so much faster in reflex. It's not like having some secret, you know, secret setup bullshit or something stupid. It's not any of that. It's purely your fucking skill at the game that separates you, and you can actually separate yourself from other people on reflex. You feel like you can't even hardly separate yourself from other people in the milestone games shit because they're too easy. They're too simplistic. They're for a grandma and a 5-year-old to play. Like, you know, they've lost all of their what made the motocross game so great. What made them make you want to come back and sink your teeth into them, and the racing you get into on reflex, just a whole nother fucking level, dude. And could you imagine, oh, dude, a reflex 3, you know, they could have it like where you could have a full 40-man gate on a motocross track, full 22 gate on a supercross track versus like, you know, the 12 people gate in the console games, right? Could you imagine like full realistic gates of dudes on a reflex 3 and all of that, like, whoo, doggies. Man, could you imagine the fucking whip system if they had just kept advancing it to a Reflex 2 and then to a Reflex 3, whew, where you could really do, like, legitimate, full-blown turn-up whips and all kinds of cool shit like that. Damn. It would have just been the game of all time. I don't know. It's just frustrating because it's like, when you made a game this amazing, I mean, how does it go? I don't see how it. I would have done everything I could, and maybe they done everything they could to try to make that Reflex 2 or whatever. It just wasn't possible for the, you know, like I said, all the behind the scenes crap that was going on. I have no idea, but I'm just saying, this is what the motocross game community wants right here. The arcade motocross game community. They want this feeling again. They want that feeling of reflex on the 360, that true fucking reflex feeling. That's what they want. It's so much on another level, man. I swear to God. And if you don't believe me, go get on Reflex, specifically on the Xbox 360. Go in there and fully upgrade a bike, right? Turn that little setting that's like the quick turn setting down to the quickest of the quick that you can have it, right? Turn your brakes to the most brakes of the brakes that you can have. Basically, turn off all the handicap shit. A couple little settings in there on the tuning. But that's it. Once you change all that and you got a fully upgraded bike, you're going to feel the magic that I'm talking about. Go play it, and then go play those milestone games. You'll literally be like, what the fuck is this? Like, how am I even playing these milestone games? That's literally what you're going to think. How am I even playing these milestone games? Of course, the graphics are not going to be on that level. It's a game from 09 or 08 or some shit. Don't look at the graphics. Don't look at like, oh, it doesn't have Tomac in it. Like, look at the gameplay. Feel the feeling of the bike when you're jumping over a jump and throwing a whip, and the in-air movement and the skill gap of leaning forward. You know, you can actually try to lean forward and lean back and hug something on reflex. Oh, imagine that shit, dog. I know it's alien to some of you milestone fanboys, but try it. It's actually fun. It's actually a skill. You can change your trajectory before you leave a jump face, and it actually does something in the air. The whoops actually have some kind of skill and difficulty to them. You know, I'm not saying they have as much as they should, and that's something they could have also had in a Reflex 3 is more of that real true whoop difficulty and whoop skill gap and stuff like that. But damn, dude. And I don't know. It's just, it's some tough titties that it didn't go that way, because it would have been so amazing for the motocross community. But either way, let me know down in the comments what you guys think about what we could have had in a Reflex 3 and shit like that. I really want to see it. So either way, dudes, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, bros.